Hi, my name is Rachel Haynes. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm really excited to share this information with you today. I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of researching over the last several weeks and wanted to share with many of my clients the research that I've come across and wanted to do so in a presentation that they could go back and watch again and again and be able to glean a little bit more from it each time. So the name of the presentation today is going to be called Helping and Healing the Microbiota. And again, my name is Rachel Haynes. I'm a registered dietitian, and let's go ahead and start. So I know life is busy. I am the mother of 4 boys. I'm also a dietitian and a fitness instructor and a wellness consultant. I do that part-time. I have responsibilities at church. I have responsibilities within the community, and I know what it's like to be busy. But I also know how important it is for us to have a healthy mind and a healthy body. And to do that, we need to keep our physical body and our emotional body well. When we don't feel good physically, we don't feel good emotionally. And when we don't feel good emotionally or mentally, we don't feel good physically. The two are related. And so today we're going to talk about some simple things we can do to help keep our body, mind, and spirit healthy. All right. So I wanted to talk about the evolution of nutrition. When I graduated from college 20 years ago as a dietitian, the thing that we really focused on when I was in school is about the different nutrients that were in foods. And nutrition was about vitamins and minerals that were in food. And we learned things about, for example, how vitamin C was discovered. And vitamin D was discovered by a British physician who found that when he gave his sailors, these sailors that had been out on the sea for months at a time without fresh produce, limes, it would help treat their scurvy. And other things I learned, for example, like thiamine. They discovered that thiamine was a nutrition that was found in the bran of wheat. And when chickens were fed only white rice, they became thiamine deficient. And so they had these different kind of sensory deficiencies and weakness and pain in the limbs. And when they would give them the brown rice, that didn't happen. And they discovered that that was from a nutrient. It was from thiamine. Well, nutrition is evolving all the time. And in the late 1990s, there was a big drive to really study phytonutrients. And phytonutrients are plant chemicals that are found in food. They're the things that give plants their color. They're the things that give plants nutritional qualities or antioxidant type qualities. They're the things that give plants smell, all those different nutrients. And so research from the 1990s to the present really focused on these plant chemicals. And there's a lot of them. There's around 25,000 different phytonutrients that they've discovered so far. And these include things like carotenoids, which we find in carrots, and ellagic acid, which is found in berries that helps protect against cancers, and flavonoids, which are powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that are found in many different foods, including berries and green tea, and these seem to protect against cancer. Okay, well, we knew the microbiome existed. We knew that there was bacteria within our body. That was not a new thing, but the study of how that bacteria affects the way our health and the way we feel has really revolutionized medicine within the last 15 years, 16 years. And so today we're going to really focus on that and how having a healthy microbiome affects our immune function, how it affects our brain function and inflammation within the body. All right, so what is the microflora and why do I need it? Well, we have over 100 trillion bacteria that live in the large intestine. And if you were to take all that bacteria and shape it into an organ, it would weigh around 3 pounds or maybe even up to 5 pounds. When you consider that our bodies, the human body, is about 1 trillion cells, and we have about 100 trillion bacteria that live within our body and on the surface of our body, then comes the statistic that we are 10% human out of this whole body. The microbiome on each person is individual. It's like a fingerprint. and it will vary from one person to the next. There may be similarities in families because a lot of our microbiome can be passed on from mother to child and also from people that we frequently are around and have physical contact with. But the microbiome is like a mini ecosystem. So it's bacteria, it's yeast, it's different viruses, all sorts of different microscopic life forms or microbes that work together to make up our own mini ecosystem. So the large intestine, or the colon, is the place where the majority of these are. And some interesting things I want you to understand about the large intestine is that there is an extensive neural network between the large intestine and the brain. And also within just the within the GI tract, our digestive system itself, and it's called the enteric nervous system. Some people have referred to it as the second brain, and it's because the network is so vast and so large, it's equivalent or perhaps even more to the network that extends from the spinal column. So throughout the large intestine, we have immune cells that are scattered throughout the large intestine, and a lot of our immune response originates within the GI tract, okay? Also, we have within our GI tract endocrine cells that are scattered throughout, and these endocrine cells are able to produce hormones. Just, like other endocrine areas of the body, like the thyroid or like the adrenals or hypothalamus or pituitary that are able to produce hormones, so is our digestive system through these specialized cells. And the products that are produced by these cells communicate with the brain. And they communicate with the immune system as well. All right. So let's talk for a few minutes about how the microbiome affects us, okay? So one of the main ways it affects us is through diversity. So having a diverse microbiome, whoops, I'm going to jump back for just a minute. Why is that not popping up? Sorry, there we go. Okay, so how does the microbiome affect us? Well, first thing is it gives us protection. So the more diversity we have within the GI tract, the more we're protected against pathogenic microorganisms. And the way you can think about that is if we have plenty of beneficial microbes within our system, it crowds out, or it takes up the resources and it takes up the space against pathogenic forms that might want to come in and take up residence. And remember that we have bacteria not only within our GI tract, but we have them with our skin, on our skin, and in every mucous membrane of the body. Okay, so within the microbiome, we have bacterial genes that can relay messages to the immune system. So the bacteria that are within the gut can produce different compounds that communicate with the immune system. Many of these compounds modulate inflammation in the body. We're going to talk about a specific compound a little bit later that's found in pathogenic bacteria that really promotes inflammation within the body. The compounds that are produced by these bacteria seem to have an effect on how we experience allergies, autoimmune diseases. When there's alterations in the bacteria that are in there, or we are tilting towards a more pathogenic mix of bacteria, there's all sorts of different disease conditions that are associated with having an altered microbiome, and we're going to talk about more about that as well. Also, the more diverse the bacteria is, the leaner we tend to be. So researchers have found that there are certain classes of bacteria that obese people have, or people with chronic diseases, that lean people or healthy people don't have. And also, having healthy bacteria helps protect the lining of the gut. And having an intact gut where things are not able to leak through protects many different areas of the body, because when things leak through the gut, they can cause inflammation in other areas of the body or within the brain itself. All right. Okay, so how does the gut microbiome affect us, other ways it affects us or benefits us. One of those ways is through the breakdown of nutrients. So in the gut, there are certain things that we don't have the ability to break down, certain types of fibers, certain types of resistant starches that our body does not have the ability to break down. And so our bacteria do it for us. What we can't break down, they do for us. And in the process, these beneficial bacteria that break down these fibers and resistant starches produce chemicals that help us, that help modulate inflammation, that help communicate also with the brain. Many bacteria can also produce different vitamins, different minerals, not minerals, but different vitamins, like vitamin K, vitamin B6, niacin. And like I said, they metabolize these fibers and resistant starches. One of the things that they produce from that is short-chain fatty acids. And we'll talk a little bit more under the bean section about short-chain fatty acids. So when we're getting enough fiber in our diet and enough of these resistant starches, and we have a good mix of bacteria, the compounds, that are produced by that beneficial mix can protect us from all sorts of things, from type 2 diabetes, from IBS and IBD, inflammatory bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel diseases, protect us against hypertension, against cardiovascular disease, against allergies and autoimmune diseases, and also against many different mood disorders. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. All right. So next slide. This is a great quote from the book The Brain Maker, Dr. David Perlmutter. I hope I'm saying that right. But one of the things that he says in his book is he says, beneficial bacteria help maintain the integrity of the gut lining. And this is one of the things I was just explaining. Helps balance the body's pH. Beneficial bacteria serve as natural antibiotics, antivirals, and even antifungals. They regulate immunity. They control inflammation. Inflammation is important, but if we have too much inflammation in the body, every chronic disease has too much inflammation happening. So being able to control that inflammation helps protect against many different types of chronic disease. They also suppress the growth and even invasion of potentially pathogenic bacteria by producing antimicrobial substances called bacteriocins. So pretty amazing what having beneficial bacteria can do for us. So how does the health of my gut affect how I feel? Well, research is showing, again, like I talked about, that the mixture of bacteria within the gut can influence many different conditions within the body. Things like depression, anxiety, autism, schizophrenia. All of those different conditions are associated with imbalances in the microbiota. One of the interesting statistics you see on the screen right now is that depression is now the leading cause of disability worldwide. I was really interested actually to hear some of these statistics. 1 in 10 Americans is taking a psychiatric drug to treat a mood disorder, and 1 in 4 middle-aged women, that's women in their 40s and 50s, are taking an antidepressant. That's a lot of people on medication. And what if they were able to treat that through diet and through modulating their microbiome? I mean, I think would be fabulous. SSRIs are medications that are designed to modulate serotonin, and serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps with the feeling of mood stability. SSRIs are the common treatment for depression, but if we could use food and probiotics to treat that, that'd be pretty good alternative. So how the gut and the brain communicate. Well, this is another great quote, and this is from The Gut Health Revolution by Dr. Gerald Mullins, and he says, "We know that hormones and neurotransmitters in your gut aren't alone in talking to your brain, but that your intestinal flora have a conversation with your head too." So just like we talked about earlier, within the GI tract, we have cells that are scattered throughout the GI tract that are able to produce hormones and different neurotransmitters. Those cells can do that, but so can bacteria. Beneficial bacteria in the gut can produce some of these as well. And those will communicate directly with the brain, okay? Our brain and our gut are connected by